All right, all the ones that we're taking a look at today are dealing with equations of lines. So linear equations. The first one, number 28, it says, what is the equation of line that passes through the point -1, 4 and has a slope of 3? So there's two equations that you need to be familiar with for the most part when it comes to our equations of lines. I guess technically there is a third one, but for the most part, we're going to use either slope-intercept form, which is the format y equals mx plus b, where m is slope and b is the y-intercept. The other one that you need, so that was, again, slope-intercept form. The other format is point-slope form. And that's y minus y1 equals m times x. Whoops. Sorry, no, don't put a 1 there. Got a little ahead of myself. X minus x1. Yes. Nurse. All right. So the reason why I brought those two equations here is because we have to use both of them on this problem. They gave us a point and a slope. So which format are we going to have to plug into? We're going to have to plug into point slope form. For the final answers, though, if you look at the answers, they are in slope-intercept form. So you have to use both formats and you have to change it from the one you're starting in to the other. Now, for 28, it says the point is -1, 4. How does that go into our equation? Well, that goes in as x1 and y1 in point slope form. The 3, it says, is the slope, so that goes in for m. So we're going to rewrite that equation in point slope form. Y minus, I'm going to plug in 4, equals the m value, which was 3, times x minus, now, x that we have up here is a -1. But we already had a negative in front of it. So if we plug in -1, what's going to happen? Well, that really becomes plus a positive, right? The sign's going to change. So first step, we need to take the equation that we've written and change it into slope-intercept form by distributing or simplifying that right side of our equation. So we have the 3 needs to be distributed to both parts. Now I have y minus 4 equals 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 1 is 3. Finally, we got to get the y by itself. So we got to get this 4 over to the other side. It's currently -4. So we have to add 4 to get to the opposite side. So now that becomes 3x plus 7. So our correct equation was D. Now again, these are going to be multiple choice questions. So what could we do since this is multiple choice? Look at those answer choices. Every single one of them has a slope of 3. They're all written in slope-intercept form. So once you identify which ones have a slope of 3, then take that point and we can plug it in. If we plug it in the point and get a true answer for both sides, so a balanced equation, then that must be our answer. So for example, on D, I already know this is my answer. If I had plugged -1 in for x, it should end up equaling 4 if it's the correct answer, because that is our y value. So 3 times -1 is -3. -3 plus 7 is +4. So again, we can use good test taking strategies to eliminate answer choices and to solve by a different method. So a lot of times, if they're giving us points, we can plug in. All right, moving on. Which equation represents a line that is parallel to, and they gave us an equation in slope-intercept form? Well, on here, we know what our slope is. Our slope in this equation is 2/3. Parallel lines, are they going to have, how are their slopes related? Parallel lines have the same slope and different y-intercept. So on here, looking through all these, we had positive 2/3. So go through each one of those slopes. This one has negative 2/3. That's not it. C looks good. It has positive 2/3. All right. Go to B, -3/2. That's different. Negative 2/3 on D, that's different. So the only one that works is C. So based just on slope, our answer must be C. Now, if you want to, you can also check the other part. So you have to have the same slope, but a different y-intercept. The first one had a y-intercept of -4. The new one has a y-intercept of +1. And the reason why you should always check that is because if we have the same slope and same y-intercept, then it's the exact same line. So they wouldn't be parallel anymore. Right, on 30, what is the equation of a line that passes through the points? So now this time they gave us 2 points. Now, before I go to using either of those equations I had on my previous problem, I first have to find slope. So our equation for slope is the change in y's over the change in x. And the way we do the change in y over the change in x is we subtract y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So plug those in. We have -10 minus 6 over 3 minus -5. Well, that minus and negative actually becomes plus a positive. So now simplifying this, we have -10 and -6 for a total of -16. On the bottom, we have a +3, a +5 for a total of 8. -16 divided by 8 is -2. So our slope is going to be -2. Look at all of our answer choices right away. We can eliminate options C and D. So the only options that we have left are either A or B. Now, we could go and plug into point slope form and then simplify it and change it into slope intercept form. But like I said, sometimes it's easier if it's a multiple choice question to go ahead and plug in the values that are given to us. Those points have to be a point on each of those lines. So take a look at A, plug in the first point. If it works, then we need to check B as well, see if it works there. If it works in both of those, then try the other point. So let's do A. If I was to plug in to that equation that they gave us for A, that -5, 6, would I get a true outcome? So -2 times -5, that's going to be 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. All right, so far that one looks like it could work. Let's try it in B. So if I did B, plug it in, now +11. Oh, and I didn't plug in the 6. Let's see. That y value can replace with 6. So on this one, 2 times 5 is 10 plus 11. Well, that doesn't work. Those two are not equal. So it can't be the second equation. It must be A. So I didn't go through all the steps that I did in the first problem. Again, it's just another way to look at it. Since we had a multiple choice question, we first used our slope to narrow down our answer choices, and then I went ahead and plugged in those 2 points. Now, could you go straight to plugging in both points? Yeah, but you have 4 different equations that you have to plug those 2 points into. So they take a little bit more work. You can narrow it down a little bit first. That'd be great. All right, let's go to 31, which this was the last one for this set. So on 31, which equation represents a line that is perpendicular to, well, perpendicular lines? How are their slopes related? Perpendicular lines have what type of slopes? They are opposite, reciprocal. Oh, I just went out of order there. Hold on. Try it again. So opposite reciprocals for slopes. What does it mean to have opposite reciprocals? So if I had A over B, the opposite reciprocal would be negative B over A. If you take 2 numbers that multiply and give you -1, they would be opposite reciprocals. Perpendicular lines, so they form right angles. All right. So if we were to graph them, then if I had a line going this way, I'd have a line going that way, so that I had a right angle. All right. So if you want to graph them, you could do that as well. Now, looking at our choices, we have -5 as our slope on the original equation. So right away, I can eliminate almost all these options except for one, because the opposite reciprocal slope of -5, well, -5 is the same thing as saying 5 over 1. So I have -5 over 1. I need a positive 1 over 5. That's the slope I need. That would be the opposite reciprocal. So looking at my answer choices, it's not A, it's not B, it's not C. The answer is D. Any questions on those 4 from last night? All right, then I'm going to pass out the other paper. I've already posted it up on Canvas as well. Let me go ahead and stop this.